everybody. Welcome back to the Dad Challenge podcast. I'm with your favorite heretics and people that live in the outside darkness of the Mormon culture. Jordan and McKay, your favorites and mine. Guys, so excited to have you back. Everybody's been loving our series. Last week was a bit nerdy. Let's be real. Yeah, it was super nerdy.
Dense.
It was just like, it was a lot of theology and people want the tea. So today's the tea. Like today's going to be some tea. I'm excited about today's tea for a couple reasons. One, because you guys lived it and we get that lived experience, which is really good. And two, 8 Passengers is one of my arch nemesis family vloggers. The dad from that channel is what's his name? Something Frank. Hold on. His name is Kevin Frank, and he is a professor at BYU in Utah, which then means all of his kids are going to go to BYU, Utah, and he's like, you know, he's going to have a better celestial planet because he actually taught Mormons. But I wanted the reason the reason I'm doing this whole Mormon expose thing is because it's interesting, and because there are a ton of family vloggers who are Mormon, and so we want to get to the core of Mormonism and LDS culture to better understand why they do it, if it's okay that they do it, and to make fun of them. So
of course,
that's
it's got to come out, you know.
So I've been speaking with someone in the back end on Instagram, and they've been like, "Why don't you have someone on that's not, you know, an apostate, that's not sitting on the outside?" Because they say, you know, you guys. Like, I don't know what they said, and I'm trying to honor them, but not saying much. Yeah. But basically, they believe that since you guys now sit on the outside as apostates, that you no longer hold truth in your heart about your experiences. Basically saying their experiences likely weren't true. Like they didn't do it properly, or they would have stuck through it, right? That's what everybody's excuse is. Like, if you didn't follow through with it, then you must not have originally had salvation.
No, we must not have had a testimony.
Interestingly enough, somebody alleged that we were going to get divorced because we are now apostates. I was like,
on the contrary, your sex life's going to get way better, and then you guys stay
now
together
we can
forever.
Use tools, come on,
and machinery. I love that you guys are so open to that.
So, that's funny.
Well, I hear that though. We get that stuff a lot.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they want you to fail, right? They want you to say, well, you guys were saved in this church, and without this church, you're lost. And the truth is, when you actually exit out of any religion, not just Mormonism, in my case, it was non-denominational, you know, post-Christian, like as almost as liberal Christian as you can possibly get, right? Mm-hmm. When you exit ministry, when you exit, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, just blanked so hard. Religion. When you exit religion, it actually is one of the most freeing things. And I actually think that it might be healthy for some people that drink too much of the Kool-Aid to just go off on an adventure on your own without religion for a year. Even just like, I think it's, who is it that does this? The people with the hats and the beards.
Oh, the Amish.
The Amish do this, and the people close to us, they let you go out for a year and live debauchery lifestyle to say, get it out of your system, go figure it out. I almost feel like religion is similar. I'm not saying go, you know, bang hookers and stuff, but I'm saying get away from religion and live, travel, do other things for an entire year without any of that being like funneled into your ear and your mind, and see what happens to you. I think that's an important thing.
I think it is too. And not to get too much off topic, but I think like a lot of the rhetoric surrounding the church is like, you do this because if you don't, bad things will befall you. So if you're living your life and doing these things and everything's going peachy, you're like, well, I got to keep doing this. So it's just kind of a cycle of keeping.
And we talked about this last time. I feel like Mormons, like, they have to live super traditional, like, lined up lifestyles in order to get the best at the end. But here you get to live like trash. But some of them will say, no, I like this. I don't know a woman in today's day and age, especially around your age, Jordan, that would subscribe to this. And if they do, I feel like that's just because they've been brainwashed to believe this, because that's how this works, right? You get indoctrinated to the religion, and you feel like that's your only value is tied to that, and they can't see past it. So that's the problem. The thing that, if you want to break Mormonism down to the most basic, arbitrary, wrong thing that exists inside Mormon culture, it's patriarchy. It's that fact that women are almost, like, I don't say nothing, because they're not nothing, but they are like the way it used to be. And it's like perpetuated now. It's like make Mormons great again, and they want it like to stay that way forever, living in that that the era of 1850s to 1950s, and they wanted to not change. And the only way they can keep it going was changing little things that they didn't really want to change, like racism, for one, right?
Oh yeah.
So okay, that's my little rant. But today let's talk about BYU, because if you didn't know what BYU was, it's Brigham Young University, right?
The Lord's School.
Lord's School.
It's called the Lord's School. They have the audacity.
Everybody calls it the Lord's School.
Yes.
And so it's Brigham Young, who is let's explain who Brigham Young is, like Cliff's Notes.
Okay. So Brigham Young is the second prophet of the restored Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he was the prophet that succeeded Joseph Smith after Joseph Smith was, if you're Mormon, martyred. If you're a Gentile, then he was just killed because he was a jackass. So, so he was the second prophet. He's the prophet that led the saints across the plains to Salt Lake City, the Salt Lake Valley, to settle it and essentially establish Zion in Utah.
Was he alive during the time of Joseph Smith?
He was. So he was an apostle when Joseph Smith was the prophet. He was one of the 12 apostles at the time. Yep. Interestingly enough, and not to kind of get too far off topic, but he is essentially the leader of the Brighamite sect of the Mormon Church. So there was a split when Brigham Young became the prophet. So the mainstream Mormon Church technically is the Brighamite sect.
Really?
Of the Mormon Church.
So people believe things that he said over what Joseph Smith would have said?
There are some stuff. I don't know of any direct contradictions to what Joseph Smith said. But the other main group of people when Brigham Young became the prophet that didn't want him to be the prophet believed that Joseph Smith's son, Joseph Smith III, was the rightful heir to being the prophet or whatever. Yep. So they split off and they stayed in Nauvoo, Illinois, and Brigham Young and the vast majority of the saints
that included
his
west. Wife too. Didn't Emma go with?
No, Emma stayed.
Eventually she did, didn't she?
No.
Didn't he have 40 wives?
Nauvoo. 40?
Oh yeah, he had
that
a lot.
Sounds like a very conservative estimate, I think.
Brigham Young had multiple wives
sure
as well?
how many.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Joseph Smith had 35 confirmed wives.
Yeah, between 30 and 50 is the estimate. Brigham Young went on and did the same thing.
Yeah.
And so they base their okay. All right. So it's just important to understand who this guy is. He's obviously a big deal. He's a baller inside the Mormon community.
And it's ironic because he actually didn't found Brigham Young University. He actually founded the University of Utah.
The rival schools.
Okay.
So there's just that ironic piece for you.
So BYU is important. It is a Mormon school, correct? But not
correct.
You don't have to be Mormon to go there, and there are actually quite a lot of people who aren't Mormon who go there.
Yeah, quite a lot. I think would be when I attended BYU Idaho. I think that year that I was there, out of the entire student body, they said there were about 50 people who were not.
So very tiny percentage, which is kind of the same when I went to
probably
my
like
Christian
1 to
university.
2% on average, I would say.
Likely it's because they offer something somebody wants, or they put out teachers or something good. They do something good that the secular world's like, oh, they do this
program.
well. Yeah. Okay. So I want to bring up this, guys. It's a you can't see this, but it's Rate My Professor, and it's the only one I found so far with Kevin. I'm sure there are more, but Rate My Professor is a website where you guess it, you rate your damn professor. So, and this is where students basically go to like vent if they got a bad mark, or they actually are giving really good reviews, or they're saying, I hate this douche. And it needs to be said that it comes up with an overall quality based on ratings. And he has 14 ratings, which is not a ton, but it's BYU, right? Mormons wouldn't go on here and bash another Mormon. I don't think so anyway. So, and you'll see why. I'm going to read you some of these, and you guys are probably going to be like, okay, wait, it's going to be funny for you. So Kevin Frank is a professor in the civil engineering department at Brigham Young University. So he teaches civil engineering. He doesn't teach, Book of Mormon, religion, none of that garbage. He doesn't get into religion. He doesn't teach it. No. So 31% say they would take him again, and his level of difficulty is 4.2, which is really high. That's a high level of difficulty.
Out of 5?
Out of 5, yes.
Okay.
So the most recent, there's only 14. So the most recent one was most helpful rating was February 17th. He's a good professor overall, would recommend. That's a Mormon. Or let's go into the rest of them. So Professor Frank's top tags are lots of homework, skip class, you won't pass, kiss his ass.
Yikes.
Tough grader, test heavy, amazing lecturer. So here we go. Most of these are hilarious. So this one gives him quality 1 out of 5. Difficulty 5 out of 5. Okay. Here's what it is. Would you take it again? No. Grade A. So this person knows their onions. They got a good grade.
Yeah, they got a good grade.
They say, do not take Kevin Frank's class. This man is insane. Also, their YouTube channel glamorizes abusing their kids. It's terrible. He goes on and on about the church LDS. He is almost impossible to get a hold of outside of class. I would, under no circumstances, take this class ever again. Let there be your warning. And that was done. Oh my God, that was 4 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And you, I'm not sure if you have to prove you went to his class. I don't know. So April 13th, 2021, he got quality 2, difficulty 5. So his difficulty is like ridiculous, right? So would take again, no, textbook no. And he says, had this guy for multiple classes. He can be really nice / caring sometimes. And he can also be super arrogant and rude. Sure, he gets busy, but it doesn't feel like his students come first with his work. Homework is always super hard, lectures are barely usable, and I can never retain anything I learned from him. I'd avoid him. His only good thing is 4L for you, which I don't know what that means. Could be a course, sure. I suppose.
Yeah.
This one says terrible teacher, gave them a 1. This one says Frankie sucks. Worst professor I've ever had at any university. He cares way too much about himself and is never accessible to students. Don't understand a concept? He can explain it to you in an easier manner. He can't explain it to you in an easier manner. He will preach about the Mormon religion in class, even though not all BYU students are Mormon. Avoid him at all costs. You'll see this come up as a pattern. This person gave him a 5. This person gave him a 4 and said, I'm not sure of some of the other reviews, but this professor isn't bad. Frank does give a lot of homework, but you have to be attentive and involved in the class, but you will pass. It's a class. You can't just do nothing and expect to pass. I had no problem getting feedback outside of class. Participate and work will be fine. That's a Mormon, and that person is a nerd.
Nerd.
Let's be real. This one says 0, gave him a 1. Makes easy concepts unnecessarily difficult. Almost impossible to contact after class. Would not recommend. Again, all that comes up all the time is that he's impossible to get a hold of outside of class. And here's why he's impossible to get a hold of outside class. They're vlogging. They're literally their life where they make most of their money. And I'm sure this guy does make good money. Most of their money is made on their channel and they make 8 figures. Guaranteed. They make a lot of money. Okay. 2.4 million subscribers on YouTube. Okay, they make money, lots and lots of money
for him. Basically,
it's another gig for him. He's rarely on, but when he is, he's a loser. No one likes him. But I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, his teaching job is a gig.
Yeah,
that's just like a side thing. Yeah. They don't even need it, really.
That's his side hustle. So all that to say, BYU. I know you didn't go to BYU Utah, but would you say that BYU Utah and where you went in Colorado are basically the same?
They're very similar. So the main difference between BYU Provo and BYU Idaho is that BYU Provo is regarded as more of a more prestigious, kind of more like...
It's harder to get into.
It's harder to get into. Okay. So it's like most of the time it is the Lord's University, but it's like if you didn't have a 3.0 or not a 3.0, a 4.0 average, probably don't bother. If you didn't get at least a 30 or a 28 on the ACT, don't even bother. That's a standardized test for all of you. I don't know if you guys have it in Canada.
We do not have that. No, we don't do that shit.
So the ACT is out of 32 or 34?
30. I don't know. I don't remember.
One of those two. Google it. Thank you. If you didn't graduate seminary, don't even bother.
Seminary.
Kind of those things. Yeah.
To get into BYU, you have to go to seminary first.
Oh, you go to seminary in high school.
What?
Yeah.
You go to seminary in high school?
Yeah, it's a class.
Ew.
As a Colorado Mormon, I went to seminary every day before class.
At what time?
I got there at 6 o'clock every day, and then I would go home. I would get home at like 3:30 or 4 every day.
F that, man.
Every single day.
No.
Every single day.
No thanks.
Yeah.
That's like when I went to Bible college, and I went to chapel like the first week because we were supposed to, and then I never went to chapel again for the rest of the semester unless there's a hot girl going. I hated chapel.
Like,
I was
no
at church
way.
every day. I went to church I'm like, I'm over chapel. It's always like the worship band who's like the elite, because I was just learning and I wasn't good enough to be in the band. So they always had like the band, like, look what we can do. And I was like, I ain't going to this stupid thing anymore. It's like literally church every single day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No thanks.
So,
I slept my ass in. Yeah,
we'll
I slept in.
If you didn't do those things, don't even bother applying to BYU Provo. That's why they have BYU Idaho, because it's kind of like a repository for the kids who want to go to the Lord's University but weren't as star students.
It's the Lord's second placement. Like, it's like this is the one where I put weird things.
And even still, it's technically the third placement because there's still BYU Hawaii.
Oh, that sounds like a good place
pineapple,
to go.
Right?
Aloha. So you get into the school. So why then, if you need to be in seminary, why are secular students accepted in?
I think it's a cop out as a way to be like, hey,
we're not totally Mormon.
Right, we're a private school, but we're not, and they're allowed to discriminate on religious basis. But they are like, hey, we're a private school, but we still allow people to come in as long as they live by the honor code,
right?
Which all students have to live by.
Can you imagine imagine your parents like, you can go there, and you're like, I am not a Mormon, and you get there and you're like, what's this honor code? And you read it, and you're like, oh shit. So explain to me the honor code.
Oh gosh.
I love it when Jordan.
It pains me inside. It literally pains me inside.
Yeah. So as a Mormon student, you have to go to your local ecclesiastical leaders, the bishop, the leader of your congregation, and the stake president, who is basically his direct superior. Okay. And he's over multiple bishops, the stake president. So you have to go to them, and they have to talk to you and make sure that you are willing to live by the honor code standards. Would you like to list off a couple of those for him?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see. There's be honest.
There's be honest. Yeah.
No
sounds like Sesame
swearing.
Street. No swearing.
Yeah.
No swearing. No vulgar language.
No foul language.
There are some really strict rules around dress and appearance.
Like
no
what?
leggings.
No leggings.
No leggings.
That's
on
the
campus.
best part of university.
I know.
Hold on, that's not even the worst. What kind of shoes are you not allowed to wear on campus?
Flip flops. No flip flops.
Why?
No open-toed shoes.
No open-toed shoes. No flip flops.
No shorts.
F that.
No shorts above the knee.
Even guys.
No shorts. Period.
Well, no shorts on campus.
On campus, yeah. No shorts on campus.
Who? No, not going there.
Why? Does that sound funny as shit or what?
What the hell? Why no shorts?
No idea.
Nobody knows.
That's not sexual.
No. Let's talk about beards, though. Let's talk about facial hair.
Oh, you're not allowed to have a beard. You're only allowed to have a mustache.
Nope.
No beard.
What about like a goat?
Clean shaven. You can get approval for an exception if you have a skin condition.
That is
But they will grant you one leeway semester where you don't have to prove it. Any time after that, you have to have like documentation from your doctor that says you have a skin condition.
You've got to be shitting me right now.
I'm dead ass.
So if you have like eczema or something, or acne, and your beard helps you with your confidence, you can say, get a doctor's note.
Maybe.
The doctor's going to say, yeah, here's a note for a beard, you idiot. Go to another school.
Go to a real school, dumbass.
But yeah, no facial hair.
Like no sideburns?
No, that is explicit in there. There is stuff about sideburns.
Sideburns, it has to be even with the ear. It cannot extend below the ear.
Why? Why?
Fundy, man.
And no long hair, like McKay's long hair.
Yep.
Hair has
like how long could your hair get?
It can't touch the collar, and it can't be in your face.
This is ridiculous.
Like,
can women
not even just like this kind of collar. I'm talking like a collared shirt collar.
Yeah, okay.
So
like the missionary shirt. Jordan,
like a white
can women
shirt.
have short hair?
Yes, that's fine. You can't have any extreme colors, so like you can't dye your hair pink or purple.
And really short hair, like a pixie cut, could be deemed as an extreme hairstyle, and you might get reported. That would be
because lesbians, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's stupid. Okay, so stupid. The honor code is you know this before you go. Obviously, you sign on. I did something similar. When I went to Bible college, we had to live by their rules. Basically, it's not an honor code, and they didn't. Well, so I had my tongue pierced, and I had weird hair colors and shit. I had Brett pierced. I had this pierced. I had plugs. I was just like, because I thought it was cool, and I wasn't. But they made me take all my piercings out when I got there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was expensive, right? My tongue was like hundreds of dollars. I was stupid. I'm glad I did, but I'm just saying, I lived that type of lifestyle, like in a Bible college setting where, you can't, it wasn't that strict though. Like you could basically wear whatever you wanted. I mean, there were no spaghetti straps, no huge amount of cleavage popping out. Girls found ways. It was great, but it was strict, but like we couldn't go to the girls' dorms. It was like every other Thursday for half an hour we would switch, and you can come in for half an hour with the doors open. RAs had to be on site so no one's getting pregnant, and it was just, that's what it was like. Yeah, so I totally get that. But that seems way crazier. Yours seems crazier.
Yeah.
They have stuff like that.
I think those rules seemed a little more lenient as far as like opposite sex in the other
Isn't there still a curfew?
And stuff like that. There's still a curfew. It was midnight on normal weekdays and 1 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays. But before the curfew, it was like an hour or two that you had to be out of the opposite sexes.
Wait. And room checks. Don't they still do room checks?
Like clean checks?
Yeah.
They do clean checks. I never lived on
campus.
campus.
They check if you're cleaning your room.
But
I would fail out of that school for sure, checks. Man.
Yeah.
Why?
I hated that too. My last roommate was, bless his heart, he was a slob. So I was always worried about it because he was in the same room, and I'm like, okay, I'm cleaning my half because you're messing.
It's like a straight line of like underwear and shit, and then like perfectly clean. That'd be so good.
Yeah,
I was a slob in my. I'm the slob, but it's that's crazy. So you were allowed in girls' dorms.
Okay, to a certain extent, you
were
the
chastity
allowed
line
into the living area, the space. So
not their rooms,
kitchen
not their
and
rooms.
The living area. Yeah, as far
not
usually there would be a door between like the kitchen or living area, the public space, to the hallway, to the door, like the bedrooms and things like that. So you weren't supposed to go back. And we just did a video talking about some ridiculous honor code stuff where somebody got reported to the honor code office because
they let somebody use their bathroom.
Yeah.
They let a man use their bathroom. Like, she's not in the bathroom with him. She just let him use it, and she got reported.
Like, okay, we're going to get to that in a second because the reporting is an important thing, right? We're going to say, what the hell? And then we're going to say, what the hell again? But
what the hell?
Okay, so you have honored this code. There's a bunch of rules, obviously. So those are the most stringent rules, or there's some weird rules that are like, what? Like, everybody's like, what the hell? Or anything that they've changed?
The one that bothers me is it's the last one on the honor code list that says that you're not only are you responsible for holding up to the honor code yourself, but you're responsible for helping those around you also live the standards. And so this is where we create the perfect environment for reporting other people for not following the honor code.
Meaning, and is this a low level meaning that women don't like entice men?
I mean,
that could be part of it, like you're holding the opposite sex accountable.
There is a lot of rhetoric around that.
Yeah.
But also even goes down to like your friends and roommates.
Like your roommates. You're responsible for reporting them essentially if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So how do they prove you don't report them?
There's people who've gotten in trouble for, like, if a roommate knew about it and another person says, oh, they knew about it, they can get you in trouble.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
Like, okay. If I'm going down, we're going down together.
Yep.
Okay, so let's make a scenario. Okay.
Let's hear it.
You're and your roommate, you're friends, I guess, but you catch your roommate 5-knuckle shuffling, right? Do you rat your roommate out?
Yes.
That's awkward as hell anyway, coming into that. But I mean, what do you do? How do you do? Is there a hotline? Is there an email? What do you do?
As far as I know, you can call them directly and report them.
You can also email.
I
think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like anonymously?
You can report anonymously.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. No way. That's not biblical at all. That is not what Matthew says in the Gospels. If you are going to call out a brother or sister, you have to do it in to their face first. Yeah. Then you have to bring in an elder to like mitigate it. So that is absolutely not biblical unless it's held up in the Bible.
They'll do that sometimes. Some people will say, I want my name on the report, and then they can, like, if you're the one in trouble, they'll tell you who reported you.
Yeah. Okay. If you're going to be doing that, you need to be about it. Like,
but then honestly, we create other issues with conflict because then you know who reported you.
Yeah.
I mean, are there fights that go down because of this? Like straight up fist fights?
Probably. I would imagine.
Girls? So. I mean, can you imagine?
Oh my God, I would bust someone's head open if they did that.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's Bible college. I know, but I'm still a dude.
Well, get this. If that roommate were to go to the honor office because he felt so guilty and turn himself in, he could then go, oh, well, my roommate knew about it and he didn't say anything.
That bastard.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so what? Okay, so let's say, like, do you guys have any, do you know people have gone and have been reported on? And we're going to bring up the Instagram in a minute, but do you know any stories? Do you have any personal stories that I can hear? Yeah. Tell me some, I need some tea.
Okay. I don't know if should I tell this story? I won't even say how I know them.
Okay.
I know of a person who gave their boyfriend a blowy.
Yeah.
And then they confessed it and they had to talk to the honor code office about it. And this person got suspended from school and her boyfriend did not.
What? How come he didn't get suspended?
Because patriarchy.
Nah, I know that's the answer, and I know, but give me a reason, because I'm pissed. Give me a reason why that was justifiable.
They had different bishops.
That son of a bitch. Okay, so that doesn't make sense. So the BYU code office exists, okay? And then they go to their office and they say, okay, well, here's what you have to do. You have to go talk to your bishop, and you go talk to your bishop, and then the bishop delves out the punishment.
Yeah. So the bishops, like, the entire school has its own, like, geography for congregations and things like that, because everybody is, like, you're part of the honor code also is that you attend your Sunday meetings. Mm-hmm. So they provide a place for you to go on campus to have church, but the local leaders they're local leaders. They're called by the university to come and be bishops and things like that. So the bishopric is always a local, like, around town kind of person, and then they have students for the other volunteer positions. But those bishops, the leadership is in. I want to say they're in cahoots because it's honestly a little better.
They are.
They're directly connected with the honor code office. So if somebody comes and confesses a sin and it goes against the honor code, they have to report it to the honor code office.
Oh my gosh. You guys, this is the thing of Mormonism that really gets me, because like this is just, it's icky, because the biblical, the Bible and what Jesus did on the cross, that Mormons confess that they believe in Jesus. What he did on the cross completed this. It fixed it. It stopped this need to confess your sins to a I don't know, a religious figure or somebody like a preacher or a bishop. It stopped that. It stopped that from happening, and that was the whole reason, because the shame and the judgment and the infinite grace exists because of what he did. And the fact is that you shouldn't need to do that anymore. Hear me out. This is going to be crazy, and I know the answer to this already, Jordan. When you confess your sin, like you're this person that gave a blowy, or whatever the case that may be, any sin you've done, and she's probably, I bet you a lot of it's surrounded by sexual sin, right? What else is there? Gossip, sexual sin. But let's be real, with teenagers and kids coming into adulthood, I bet you the majority of the problems is probably drinking, sexual sin, right? Yep. But let's talk about the sexual sin for a second, because that's the juicy tea. And this is what, when you hear like testimonies, I used to be bang hookers, and everyone's like intently listening to that guy's testimony because it's amazing. The other person's like, I used to steal library books, and nobody wants to hear that person's testimony. But there are no women that you can confess to.
No.
So hear how gross this is. So you have done something wrong as a woman, and you have to go, how many juicy details have bishops been fed by young impressionable women and women in general about all their lusty sins to all these men?
An unfathomable amount.
So now, hear me out. does that not create... Now, again, these men are supposed to be holy, but they're still human, okay? Yep. That, to me, right there on its face, is the most disturbing thing about Mormonism as far as I'm concerned. The fact that, and I know I'm leaving men out, but men have to do this too, and it could be a shameful thing. But these men, in a patriarchal religion, I'm going to say it, I don't care. They love it. And how do we know that there's not predators in there doing that for that specific cause? And have anybody been caught? Have anybody gone to jail? Is there anything very like that? Okay. Because they keep that shit inside.
They do, and because the church has a law firm, they own, like, there's a law firm that the church basically owns because the lawyers are temple-worthy members, and they're the ones that handle everything. So, like, if there's a hotline for if somebody, like, reports, like, abuse or commits a crime or anything like that, before they do anything, including report to local authorities, they call the hotline and say, what do I do? And then the lawyers give them legal advice on, number one, how to protect the church. Number two, then they can proceed with what needs to happen. Like,
hear this out. I mean, again, I'm going to say it. This is brilliant. This is brilliant foundational concepts for a religion to have free legal advice with probably super high power lawyers, okay, that get paid big bucks, that are already indoctrinated in religion. Half of them don't believe the shit, they just get paid a lot, okay? Then there's number two, when it comes to the honor code, the women are the only ones that are probably, like, men, in order for me to go confess a sin to a dude, it's like, okay, the guy likely knows, it's going to be a little easier for me, but how much shame is attached to the fact that you have to go speak to a disgusting old man about your sexual sins? Does that not... Yeah. Have you ever met someone that went in and just said, does that not make you feel so icky?
Yes, it does, because they will, as it pertains to the honor code office, when you confess a sexual sin, they have you write a statement. And in this statement, they will ask you questions, and you're supposed to recant the whole experience down to every dirty detail. Okay?
No.
Yeah.
So there is untold amounts of written files of people's sexual sins written and stored and filed somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I can't imagine that those records would be destroyed ever.
Same with the bishops, though, because when you confess, especially when you confess like a sexual sin, that's recorded and it's maintained in your file. So when you move to another bishop, that stays with your file. And so your bishop can be reading all about it.
We're going way off because that's going to be a new episode by itself. We have to talk about this idea of, I mean, this is important to this because this, maybe we'll branch off here, but okay. So it pisses me off. I know it pissed you off, but I can't believe any woman at all, okay? I don't care if you've been indoctrinated or not, okay? If you're going to go do a blowy or go do something sexual, I mean, you did it. You're tempted to do it and you did it. Recanting that just adds to the shame, right? And what does a bishop will say then? Okay, then, go, what do you have to do to be forgiven?
That's also going to depend greatly on your bishop. Like this is how bad this was. When I was in young single adult ward in college and I was fooling around, drinking, doing shit I wasn't supposed to be doing, and I had to go confess to my bishop, I was so terrified to go to my bishop that I told my mom I needed to go talk to the bishop, and I made her drive me there and walk me in the building so I wouldn't back out.
Oh my gosh. That is absolutely disgusting, because the shame culture in Mormon world is, they should be ashamed. They should be ashamed. That is disgusting. The scariest part, though, and I'm going to say this again, is the actual amount of files they have and sins written on paper that you've signed at the end that they have filed away. That, for what reason? To read later? Do you think there's a group of old dudes just sitting there reading all these things and getting off on it? Like, I'm saying it because I do actually believe religious institutions attract these types of men, and I don't need it's a breeding ground for these types of things. Like, look at the Catholic Church, look at even the Christian Church, look at them. They are a breeding ground for this type of thing, and the fact that is allowed to continue is actually mind-blowing, and that is not talked about enough as far as I'm concerned.
No. Well, and mind you, they also do this with minors. Like, they ask minors if you're keeping the law of chastity, and some will go far enough to ask you if you masturbate, and then they will ask you details about that.
That's illegal, but they have lawyers. It's gonna
and it's religious freedom.
Go ahead, Jordan, or go ahead, McKay.
It's really just they have their religious freedom.
That's bullshit.
That won't be infringed.
Yep. What about parents who have left the Mormon Church because of something like this? Why would they not sue?
There have been people who have tried, but again, we're going against a high power attorney.
A church that has $100 billion at least worth of attorney power. So
there was someone named Sam Young who brought attention to this issue and was saying that interviewing minors is inappropriate. And he started basically a whole movement that he called Protect the Children. And he started this whole movement to try to say, like maybe we should just have like another adult in the room, or maybe we should stop asking children sexual questions, and they excommunicated him. So.
They excommunicated him. Of course they did.
Yep.
Here's a solution if you want to continue that law of like a confession. Women confess to women. Okay, fine. And then men confess to men. That to me is a simple solution. It's still wrong, but it's at least a solution where the shame factor and because I just can't even imagine the disgustingness that you feel after having to feel shame for what you've done anyway, and then going to report it to some old disgusting dude who wears a white jacket. No thanks.
Oh yeah.
Well, and to snuff out any hope that would become a thing, you have to confess your sins to somebody who holds the priesthood, and women won't.
And women don't hold the priesthood. So they'll Mormons will say, "Oh, you could go confess to like a young women's leader, and the young women's leader could go to the bishop with you." Okay. But ultimately, you always have to go to the bishop, because she can't fix it for you.
But can she be in the meeting with you?
She could.
That should be a standard across the board for women.
Absolutely.
But it's not standard. Yeah.
That's okay. Sorry.
It's not even
I'm pissed. That's got me pissed because that's why. Because that's effing disgusting. I don't care.
That's why we do this.
It's too much. It's too much of a temptation for creepers to become part of that and then get away with it because they live based on religious freedom, and that. Holding a culture of shaming already is super, super dangerous as far as like depression, anxiety, suicide, all that stuff. And if you have a bishop that's like a dirty old bastard, and I'm sure there are a bunch, I mean, it's just like if you want every juicy detail, that to me is just like, that is a no-go. How do they get around the idea that Jesus died on the cross for our sins, that we no longer need to go to a bishop for a confession?
Well, and that's what exactly makes it so unfair, is because like the bishop that I confessed to in my YSA ward, I was like, do I need to tell it? He's like, I don't want to hear any of it. Let's just fix it and we'll move on. And so he was phenomenal. But then I have other friends who had different bishops at the time who were like, okay, I'm going to need you to write me a written statement. Ooh. Okay, you gave him a blowjob. Was that consensual? Did you talk about it? Like, were you pressured? Like, like just going into all this nonsense.
Holy shit.
So it really just depends on your bishop.
You know what pisses me off the most is that there's no justice for any of these people because of the protections they have. Catholic Church is very similar. Unless there's like a smoking gun, there's not much you can do about it. Unless 50 kids come forward about a guy at a Catholic church, they won't do anything about it, and then they'll bury it anyway. This is the danger of religion, not God and Christianity or whatever the case may be. Take that out. This is why religion is garbage. All religion. Not just Mormonism, not Catholicism, Christianity, all of it is absolute trash because it is run by fallible human beings. It was never supposed to exist the way it exists today. Never, ever, ever. I don't care. God did not plan for this to happen this way. And all these buildings that are built in as trophies to these people it's just, I'm angry. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Scream it out
back to the honor code. So so this happens. You can. So let's say you hate your roommate because I don't know, they're better looking than you or whatever. You just hate them because you ever meet somebody and you're like, I hate this person. You don't even know why.
Exactly.
Like what if you didn't like that person? You just ratted on them. Some guy down the hallway who stole the girl that you liked, and then you say, oh, I definitely saw him jerking off in the shower. And if you said that anonymously, what happens to that guy?
They still get called in. They will investigate, but there's really no way to investigate false claims because there's no proof, but they're still going to take it seriously.
Yeah, that's all he said, she said, kind of hearsay stuff.
So you'll probably still get in trouble.
They might not get in trouble because it's unfounded, but they will get called in and say, hey, look, someone said they caught you, doing stuff in the shower. And he's like, what the hell? So it could be abused, and likely it is abused.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's likely abused for the, disgusting things that old men want it for, which is disgusting as far as I'm concerned. Needless to say, how many kids likely and men who are likely gay and just have to suppress that stuff, who are bishops and who are higher level people, because like just based on the numbers alone, the LGBT community will say this too, is that if there are 1,000 people, if there are 1,000 people, what? 10 of them are going to be gay for sure. Right. So if there's 16 million members of the Mormon church, I mean, do the math. Hundreds of thousands of LGBTQ exist in a world where they're not allowed to exist. And they live in the shame because they know that they are who they are in their hearts. And they're never going to reach the celestial kingdom because they are gay, as far as Mormon culture is concerned. So why live in the dark?
Well, they tell them that you can be gay and go to heaven if you, suppress it and if you marry someone of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
So you can still be gay and marry someone of the opposite sex, right?
Okay,
I mean, that's ridiculous, but yeah.
It is ridiculous, but I feel like that's where the Christian church is landing right now too. The church that I left that fired me, they live there. They say, what's your take on LGBT? Well, we recognize you can be, but we want you to live a life of chastity, is what they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what they say.
Which is
so bullshit.
A lot to ask of people, but that also plays into something big that happened last year with
BYU and the
honor code. Will you explain that? You were just brush up.
Yeah. So homosexual behavior, as they define it, is in the honor code. Like same-sex interactions that are romantic are obviously against the honor code, and so. Last year, for whatever reason, they were making updates and changes to the handbook, and they took that part about homosexual behavior out of the handbook.
Okay.
And so then a bunch of people at BYU were like, oh my gosh, like
I don't have to live.
I don't have to live quietly anymore. Like I can be who I am. Like BYU's finally hearing us. We're making some progress. And so they heard like basically nothing from the BYU administration for days. And so these people were a lot of them were living openly in this like new environment where homosexual behavior wasn't against the rules. And then a few days later, it was March 4th of 2020, the BYU administration came out with a statement that said, just because you removed it doesn't mean anything, and same-sex romantic behavior is still against the rules and incompatible with the honor code. So
why did they remove it then? They could be sued for that then.
So basically, they got a bunch of people to out themselves.
Yep.
Oh, those bastards. Oh my gosh.
They didn't even need anybody to tattle that time.
So, do you think that was on purpose? Or were they doing that to, or was it a byproduct of like, oh, this is convenient too?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
maybe they.
I'm hoping. I don't know.
My God,
are they really that twisted? I don't know.
I really hope that's not the case. But
Probably.
Think about this for a second. Yes, they are.
Possible.
They take confessions from people about their sexual orgies and they like put it in a file somewhere. Yeah, they're that gross.
It's
okay.
So that leads me to leave probably. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people got probably kicked out because of that. What happens when you get, so this girl gives a blowy, whatever, we'll go back to that. She gets suspended for what? Like, does she fail because of this?
You would just not be able to attend your classes. Sometimes it will be an entire semester long deferment.
Oh my gosh.
But the punishments range.
Again.
You can, I mean, it goes from like not able to attend class for a couple days to like full on expulsion.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. But I feel like, why is it that's not fair? They should have it written in stone or whatever the case may be that says if you've done this thing, this is your punishment. The fact that he didn't get punished for it, to me, I would be so angry if I was going to a school and that was known that this guy got off scot-free and she didn't. That doesn't seem fair. That's just not fair.
This happens all the time at BYU.
Yeah.
BYU can suck it. Okay. Next topic. I want to get into these little couple of these. This is awesome. So BYU Honor Code stories is on Instagram, and it is full of tea. Like, it's full of the good stuff, okay?
Yep.
I want to read a couple of these. And this, I think you guys should just do an hour long, just one of these on your channel. But when I broke up with, this one is from, they don't have the name, but when I broke up with my boyfriend last year, I was in a really bad state. I moved on too quickly and found another boyfriend. He later pressured me to have sex with, which I did. I was unhappy in that relationship and he made me do things I didn't want to do. When we broke up, I was so depressed and suicidal. To cope, I started having sex frequently and fell and had a full-blown sex addiction for a while, but stopped because I wanted to get better. At the end of the fall semester, I got a call from the HCO saying for me to come in. My old roommate told him I had sex. The roommate also told him a bunch of lies, like they saw me naked. I feel like you don't see a roommate naked and you're like live in the same room as them. Okay, so whatever.
Yeah, right. That's weird.
I was suspended. It immediately sent me into a panic attack. I felt like I was treated unfairly because of my depression and anxiety. I knew if my parents found out, they would disown me, and that drove me to suicidal thoughts. People in these situations should not be suspended, but instead the HO should try a different route. So again, we talked about this not 10 seconds ago. People are like having suicidal thoughts because this is the most shameful thing that can happen to you. Like, this is crazy.
Well, and then you have like the parental part that plays into it. Like, they, you know, if the bishop tells your parents, then there's some fear associated with that, losing your degree. Yeah. Like, they hold a lot of power over these kids.
Yeah.
And it's also important to remember that your living situation can be contingent on your status with the school.
Okay.
If you're expelled from school, you can be kicked out of your living space.
Yep.
So some people out there have been expelled from school, didn't want to tell their parents, didn't have anywhere to go, and were basically homeless because they got expelled.
Because they were living in campus housing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That should not happen. That's
no,
not Christ-like.
You're making kids homeless. You're making kids, because how much more trouble you get because you have to go now. You not only have to confess to the honor code, you have to go to confess to your bishop, and then you have to tell your parents. There's like 3 levels of shame there, and that's like no thanks. You know how much stress that puts on a person?
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get in. We're coming up to close to the time, but let's now, in the experience of people who go to BYU, when you go there and you have to do the Sunday, you have to go to Sunday, but it's mostly not religious education, right? It's a normal education.
You do, you have normal education. You are required to take a certain amount of religious classes. I ended up, out of my, I think 5 or 6 semesters at BYU Idaho, I ended up losing about 12 credits because they're 2 credit hours each semester.
And they're not accepted anywhere else. So if you transfer, that was a waste of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was wasted time. It's weird because you go in, and this maybe is the same at Bible college, but like you start every class with a prayer. Mm-hmm. They also have a weekly devotional where they all gather. There's no classes during this time. Everybody gathers. I know at BYU Idaho they have the I Center, which is basically modeled off of the Salt Lake City Conference Center. But they'll have like hymns, and people speak like apostles and historians, and
so it's very much
integrated.
So yeah, that makes sense, because obviously
inseparable.
That's what the whole point of the school is. It's indoctrination camp. Is there like a underground groups that like get together and talk about stuff like we're talking about?
I mean, yes, there always.
I'm sure there are,
and we know of people like who are activists for the LGBTQ community who attend the school, and they kind of, most of them have had run-ins with the honor code office, so they kind of play loose cannon, like, what do I got to lose, like, honestly. So
yeah.
I feel like that's I think that's important. I think I know that doesn't sound like honorable, but I feel like people need to, like, it's become an indoctrination camp, right? How many, like, truthfully, how many students of color or of the LGBTQ persuasion go to these schools? Does it look like what I think it looks like in my head? Just white people, blonde hair, blue eyes?
Primarily,
no offense to you guys.
Especially at BYU Idaho, yeah. I know a couple people that I served with that are from Latin America and the Caribbean that do go to, they immigrate, or they get a visa to come and study at BYU. Mm-hmm. But I would say of the American students, they're pretty much all white.
Yeah. And that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So, you know, in my experience of college, I mean, you still get the college experience, and
their football sucks.
I
thought their football team I thought their sports was good.
No.
I went to their rival school, so I'm obviously a little biased, but
Who is the rival school to BYU? Because I'm going to start getting their merch and start watching the games.
University of Utah.
Okay, so it is UT, but it's still it's not Brigham. It's not a religious school. University of Utah. Lots of Mormons go there though.
Total. I would say a lot. Yeah, just because it's in Utah and you get in-state.
Okay, so now my team for college sports is U of T or U of U.
U of U. Hell yeah.
The Utes.
What are they? The Bucks?
Go Utes. The Utes.
Utes.
What the hell's a Ute?
It's an Indian tribe.
A Native American tribe.
I thought it was like a wagon. Is that a wagon?
No.
It's spelled UTE. That's the tribe that Utah is named after.
UTE.
I'm assuming.
U of U. Hold on, I'm Googling it. If the logo sucks, I don't know if I can. Oh, that's not terrible.
No, it's a hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
University of Utah Athletics.
It's a hawk, so they don't.
I think this will
get in
be.
trouble.
If we play BYU this year, I think this will be the 9th year in a row that we've beat BYU.
Yeah.
Can you guys let me know when that game is, and let's do a live watch party and
That'd be fun.
I don't even know nobody on the teams. I don't even know what they're playing, but let's party.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh! When would they play?
Challenge podcast tailgate. Usually
in the
it's
fall.
in the fall.
In the fall,
Okay.
yeah.
So if lockdowns are over, I'm coming out to this game, and we're gonna hold up big signs. It's gonna be hilarious.
Oh yes, I'm so game.
Down with the honor code.
Yes.
Well, and Jordan used to be part of the MUS, which is like the
I used to be part of the student section, so I was in the front row.
Like the hardcore one.
Don't want to brag or anything, but
I don't want to brag or anything.
Like
but
painting her
I was
face
in the
and
MUS.
crap.
So.
that's Americans. That's just an American thing. All right, so
Right.
I mean, we didn't cover too much about it, but I honestly wanted to cover BYU just because of this honor code thing. It's a really important thing. We're getting close to an hour, but let's just so you go to school, everybody's happy, you leave, you get married. Basically, it's a place to get married, right? Let's be real.
Yeah.
You go to this place to find a wife or a husband.
Yeah.
BYU, I do.
Yeah, BYU, I do.
We're getting your MRS degree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ring before spring or your money back.
Ring
and so
before spring.
people, honestly, that's just, and again, if you're going to go find a husband or a wife, what better place to go to a place where you're going to find someone who has the same type of, lifestyle.
Exactly.
I'm not
That's
against
why it
that.
appeals.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, they go there and then they're pressured to have sex. And if they don't have sex, then they're pressured to get married to have sex. And then they have shitty marriages because they rushed into it to have sex, which is stupid. You can't live together first. I mean, I'm not saying that's always the end all, but I feel like a lot of these people don't know each other. And they get there and they live in a little bubble for however long. And then they get married and they've never experienced anything inside their bubble, ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the research actually, I took a class on this last semester. The research actually supports people living together before they moving in, having more healthier long-term relationships and a lower divorce rate. And so we're not even they don't care.
Yeah.
It's just
Obviously.
so they don't have sex.
Well, and to circle around to what we were talking about before, you go to BYU, you meet somebody at BYU, you get married really quick so you don't have sex, and then you leave the church and you end up getting divorced because the sole thing that you had in common was the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's funny that's the talking point because literally it's only binding people together because they believe the same thing for a time.
That
And then
is-
once that's gone,
Yep.
can
That's
you
the
blame
danger of
people for leaving
indoctrination.
the church and getting
Yeah.
divorced?
It creates indoctrination creates people to that's the political indoctrination is the same thing. And it's so split right now that if someone is a Democrat or a Republican, you can ask people now, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? And they won't they're like, I hate you. I don't even know you. I hate you because of that. That's what happens. Indoctrination is insane. And that's why this person who's talking to me at the back end of Instagram is kind of upset with me that, this person said, why don't you have someone on who is, a mainline member that's still going, who's not an apostate? And I said, well, I'd love to, but are you willing to answer all my questions? And they always say this, yes, but I'm not going to talk about the sacred stuff, right? I'm not going to talk about the temple. So I'm like, why? Why does that have to stay a secret? Why is that a secret?
Well, and
it's not a secret. It's sacred.
There's a good chance. Oh yeah, that's their favorite line.
Oh, I love that line so much.
There's a good chance they probably don't even know half this stuff. Because I didn't know until I left. So you could be asking them questions, and they would have. There's a good chance they'd have no freaking clue because they don't look into that stuff.
Yeah, because that's indoctrination. Indoctrination relies on people not actually understanding for themselves. It actually relies on you being fed it by someone, right? That's indoctrination. That's how it works. It's not that you're dumb. It's just that you are ignorant. You don't want to know. You are then encouraged not to know, and then to know becomes like the shame, right? That's
Yep.
It's all here. It's like, that's the way it is. So anyway, this person, I said, look, if you're honestly going to come on and answer questions about temple and stuff, I'll have you on. But if you're unwilling to answer questions because it's sacred, and then she oh, well, the Jews have these tapes, you know, the Catholics have these weird things. I'm like, that's fine. They all have them, but they are not secret. That's the thing. They're not secret. Yeah, they talk about them. You know what they are. They're not afraid to talk about them. For whatever reason, Mormons are afraid to talk about that. They're like, well, it's because you're so close to God in the temples, and this is an amazing moment. I'm like, so then why would you not want the entire world to know that if it's so incredible? Why do you keep that a secret? So I know that's another rant. Sorry.
Exactly.
So real quick, 5 minutes. We're gonna. So you leave school, you get married, everything else. But this tattletale culture is perpetuated in the community. So if it's just like gossip. It's basically it's a religious freedom to gossip is what it is, right? So your neighbor, somebody's not wearing can you get in trouble for not wearing your undergarments?
If you're in doubt, absolutely.
I would say because
I mean, it's a temple question. Are you wearing
you're supposed to be doing
your garments at all times?
So when you go to church on Sunday, you have to wear your garments, obviously.
Yeah, you're supposed to be wearing them at all times because it is.
I would imagine garment checking happens all the time at BYU.
Uneffing believable. So not only are you at college trying to get, find the lady or the man of your life, you got to wear those ugly ass underpants all the time. They're not flattering your body, I imagine, but I guess that's kind of the point. But because garments is next, and I'm so excited about that. You guys are going to want to be here for the garment. This is what everybody's been waiting for. It's going to be crazy. But so the culture perpetuates beyond school. And so they indoctrinate you at school. You get married to another Mormon, and then you go live your life. It's great. But your neighbor's doing something dumb. You can contact your bishop. What if you don't know if they're Mormon or not? Or is it only in your inner circles?
You wouldn't usually be talking to people that are not Mormon.
Yeah.
Okay.
People in Utah, like, that would be a major possibility because a lot of times when you live in Happy Valley here, the Salt Lake Valley, most of your neighbors are Mormon. Like your congregation geographical region is only a couple blocks on average.
That makes sense. So I feel like the neighbors of people like the Franks, I feel like the passengers' neighbors, and like maybe we can find some of them, like get in, find some Mormons that are still Mormons and be like, go to this neighborhood, let's rat them out for all the shit they're doing. Like, I mean, they got to get in trouble. Maybe if they get in trouble to stop this bullshit, but we're going to talk about that later. But
are they in Provo then? Are they down south, I'm assuming?
I don't know.
He works at Provo.
Down south of that.
Yeah, he's close to the school, very close.
Utah County.
Okay.
But the problem is that here's another problem with this. Okay, you then cannot really have any close friendships because if you don't live inside of that construct, your friend could rat you out. And we talked about this last time. You don't really talk about things that are personal, like sex, and like, I'm not saying we have friends over and all we do is talk about sex, but sometimes conversations can happen amongst adults where you're like, you're adults, and that's kind of freeing to have that. But Mormons tend to live in a way. Yeah, it should be normal, but it's not all the time. But in Mormon circles, it's a no-go.
No,
like you have to live like above the line of the optics at all times. So what do you effing talk about? What do you get together with your friends? What do you talk about? But you don't know anything about the church. That's the problem. You don't know anything about it because you don't know anything about it.
You just know what they've told you about.
Yeah.
Like, I would kill to be a fly in the wall and like one of these stay-at-home mommy vloggers or stay-at-home mommy Mormons who like go to the park and have mommy dates. I would just kill to have a recording of what the hell they talk about. I would just be like salivating to listen to what they talk about. I would love it.
It always keeps you on your toes because you don't unless it's like a longtime friend that you're like really diehard trust. You don't know if they're just going to turn around and report your ass to the bishop. You don't know. If
my friend reported my ass to the bishop, I would kick my friend in the dick. Right in the dick. Like, is there fights? Are there people that have beef? I don't know. Like, I don't get, like, it's got to be. They're still human. What are like
at BYU for sure.
Yeah.
There's got to be beef.
Oh, for sure.
Are the student athletes at BYU treated differently? Like, let's be real. We know that student athletes get scholarships and they are an investment to the school. Does a BYU athlete get a free pass if they're doing, soaking and all that kind of stuff, getting blowies? Are they treated differently?
I mean, one could infer. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but
I'm going to confer.
They're an asset.
They put the football, like at most schools, they put the football players on a pedestal, and so there's.
That's for sure.
Oh, like are they good? Or are they bad football team?
They're
not terrible.
I want to see them lose. I want to see them lose.
They're not great. There have been historically a lot of BYU graduates who go on to get drafted in the NFL.
Yeah,
I know of one particularly. He played for the Dolphins. His parents were in my ward, so he played BYU football, and then was drafted to Miami.
So like many years ago, BYU football was like all right. Now it's like shit. So
okay. I got another idea for a show. Famous Mormons.
Okay. Famous Mormons.
Yep.
Oh, those are popular. We do those TikToks like every now and then, and people are like, "Oh, you forgot this person and that person."
The Osmonds. Oh, we can talk about Donnie and Marie.
Okay, I'd still Marie Osmond. Not gonna lie. I don't know what she looks like up close now, but from photos, yep.
Let me tell you, there was a wave of baptisms thanks to Donnie and Marie.
Yeah.
That is not even a joke. There was a wave.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people tell us, they're like, yeah, my parents
got baptized because of Donnie. It's like, oh my God.
Well, he was in Joseph Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is what I was exposed to in grade 7. When that was going around, I didn't get to go because I was poor, but we learned all the songs. I close my eyes through the I remember it, and it's like, I've never got to see it, but I want to see it. Anyway, he was Joseph, and I didn't know he was a Mormon, so, it makes sense, so.
Yep.
Okay, so that's next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the garments. I'm very excited. So bring your popcorn, bring your swear pillows. Make sure you order one of their swear pillows because it's going to be important. That is a hot topic in the morning. And it's crazy because the hottest topic, as far as I'm concerned, is what we talked about today, is that specifically women, and again, men too, because obviously there are closeted gays who are listening to men talk about their sins, and so there are people listening. But this whole confession and records of confession should be illegal as far as I'm concerned, and they should have to destroy all those records as far as I'm concerned, because look, why do you need a record of them? God knows. You've already placed it in God's hands through your bishop, so why do you need a record of it? What do you need a record of? If you're forgiven, why do you need a record?
Yep. I remember your sins no more, right?
Yeah, and so
God forgets, but the bishop remembers.
Let's ask Mormons all around the world. That's a question. If God remembers your sins no more, your bishop, you've done everything you need to do. Why does there need to be a record? Let's hear them reason that question.
Let's hear your best mental gymnastics, folks.
So if you guys know somebody, but that's a question that has never been answered. I'm sure someone's got an answer for it, but let's hear the answer because I want to hear it. Anyway, all that said, you guys, this has been a really good episode. Not super nerdy, but really good tea, really good stuff, information to talk about. The mics, Chef's Kiss, they sound really good. Kiss. You guys are amazing. Next week, let's do garments. Because I really that idea, it brings people to the yard. If it's funny, that's the whole thing that I do here, is if you're funny and interesting and engaging with a hard topic, you will get people listening to you. That is one of the most important things in religion, if you think about it. All those youth conferences you go to, when you get that engaging speaker who has the good stories, who's funny, those are the times people give their life to God. They're like, yeah, quiet the fire. He told me the story and I'm saved. That's what brings people. So let's utilize that on our side. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
We could do like a skit of where you're like our bishop and we had to go confess sin to you or something.
Yes.
That would be good.
Yes.
That would be good.
Green screen time. We're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. Oh my, you could do it. I'm surprised there's not like an entire show, like Netflix show, like a fictional movie or show that's a comedy about being a Mormon. I would absolutely love that.
I'm surprised.
I wish... Because, Mormons do their own little parody, comedy shows sometimes. They suck because they're not objective enough. But
you should send some to you. You'd be like, oh my God.
There are some that are okay, but you have to understand the nuances for it to
Okay. I'm very excited. We're going down rabbit holes. Everybody, make sure you head over to their YouTube channel. They are monetized. They're making $50 a year. So load it up. Yeah. Load it up. That's at least dinner at some Mormon restaurant. Or something. Funeral potatoes. But make sure you head over to their TikTok and go to their Instagram. Help their voice grow because that's really important for them too. To get their voice, because their message is good. You guys know what they have to say is important. They're educated in that. But I want someone to answer. One of you Mormons out there that are coming at me, why do you keep a record of sin? Mic drop. Don't drop mics, are expensive, but
And
like, I'll just do this.
The layman, they might not even know that there's a rare.
I was gonna say they might tell you there's not.
Oh, so they might say that there
messages.
isn't, but there is. We know there is.
There is. Yeah.
That stupid mountain vault. Okay, guys, I will see you next week, and thank you for joining me. You're amazing.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you.